Welcome to Vox Populi News. You can find us at voxpopulinews.net. I am Michael Higgins.
And I'm Farrah Prudence.
And we have Dianne Savage on the line with us today.
Hey,
Welcome,
guys.
Ms. Dianne.
Hey, thank you for inviting me. So very glad to be among such great company.
Awesome. It's nice to have you. And I wanted you to get into this because you've been posting about this pretty much all week. I've seen them, and I want to know a little bit more about it. I have a working knowledge of it, but you are going local in the state of Florida and finding out a lot about Common Core. And I'll just give the floor to you. And I was wondering if you could explain it.
Oh, I don't know how much I can explain of it. I can tell you what I've learned of it. I can tell you what a lot of parents are saying, what a lot of teachers are saying. And I don't know, for those that don't know, a few years ago, not that many years ago, our governors across America got together and had a panel, and Jeb Bush was one of them, that put together Common Core. And they were the orchestrators, and Jeb Bush is a huge supporter still to this day of Common Core. But, listening to teachers and to parents who have been inundated at their schools with Common Core, there's multi-level of problems within Common Core. It's not exclusive to one problem. One of the problems is that the math problems, for instance, are in a whole new way of teaching. So if you were to take 2 + 2 = 4, and it was a, two-step process, and now they've made it so that you have to have about 100 steps. There's a graph involved, and the end result doesn't really matter as long as you show the steps that you went through. Now, if a child turns in the answer of only 4, they get it marked wrong because they didn't show how they got there.
Even though the answer is correct.
Even though the answer is correct, they get it marked wrong because they didn't take the time to do the 100 steps to get there.
I've seen some of these 100 steps. I don't know if you've seen them, Michael. They're plastered all over Facebook, and some of them I'm watching the video or reading over it 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, I have no clue what
there was
says.
Actually a video. John Stossel was in a public space, and he put up a math problem. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's excellent. I think even the one that finally solves it is an actual teacher of Common Core. And when Stossel starts questioning her, she even admits that it's pointless.
Right. So imagine the child's frustration, number one, who used to know how to do 2 + 2. And then imagine, as the child is entering middle school and even high school, which is even worse. Let's say that you have, for instance, let's say that you have a 9th grader who was in 8th grade last year and did regular old-fashioned math. And then he enters 9th grade, and then all of a sudden his district has now enveloped Common Core, and he's got to learn from step 0, this new finagled math. So he goes home. Now, the teacher, mind you, who has a 50-minute class, who spent about 15 minutes on attendance, another 10 minutes on paperwork, and then another 15 minutes on disciplinary actions, probably had about 10 minutes in that classroom to actually help him with the problem. So he's sent home with this, and he has very, smart parents, very educated parents. They look at the problem and they have no idea how to help Johnny. None. Right? So the child is now very disenfranchised with the system. He was a student. His grades are slipping. His parents can't help him. And so now Johnny is slipping down the ladder and thinking it's his fault.
Right, which is not just a curriculum problem. That's also your self-esteem issues, your confidence, everything.
Right. And so when you look at those aspects of it, there is a huge problem. But even further than that, my husband and I, it was probably almost a year ago, probably around a year ago, we watched a video. I think it was about the time, and I can tell you who it was. The story I broke on Farmville school that was doing Common Core. The female teacher at the time who stood by her work and the principal that stood behind her doing it, we went on the school's website, we came across her, and we actually saw a video of her teaching her class some type of project they had to do. And it was a project that if, Michael, you as a working man, when you go out into the field, typically when you go out to do a service call, how many people are with you?
Nobody.
Well, in Common Core, what they're doing is they're taking the whole class and they're dividing them up into 2 or 3 or 4 groups, depending on how many students. And they're saying, this is your problem. Now, I need all of you to work together to get the answer. And not only do you have to work together to get the answer, but your grades are going to be averaged as a group.
It's socialism in the works right there.
Socialism.
Right.
Yep.
So not only so now when Johnny goes into the office, if he ever gets hired, which is unlikely because he's not going to be very well educated, but if he should get hired and he's in his little cubicle and the boss comes to him and says, Mr. Smith, I need this project done by 5 o'clock. Well, what do you think he's going to do? He's looking around going, okay, where's my team? You know? And his boss is like, team? What team? You're it, dude. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not used to working by myself. I need more people. So to me I understand that you do need that skill of working as a team.
Right.
But you can't rely strictly on being part of the team. There has to be the teaching of being an individual as well.
Well, here's my question about that. We all know that Common Core is like a liberal favorite. So, but they also hate leaders and followers, and everybody has to be the same. So how does that work in their little groups? I mean, if everybody is equal and there's no leader and there's no follower, I wouldn't want to find myself in one of those groups.
No. Well, see, the problem is, and I forget the gentleman's name who did a video on this or did a audio. I'm not sure. I'll have to look back through my stuff and find it. But he explained it very well. And he explained it like this. Let's say that Sally, Rob, Tammy, and Bill are all working as a group unit. Sally is a straight A student. You know, the other 3, C's, D's, maybe an F. Average. So the teacher explains the project and she says, now, Sally, you all are going to be working together, and once it's all done, your grades are going to average. Sally's an exceptional student. She's an overachiever. While as the other 3, they don't give a rat's behind. You know, they've been floating along this far. Why are they going to start working now? So Sally does what she's always done. She dives in, does all the work. The other 3 put very little, if any, effort at all. So after the project's done and it's graded, they all get their grade. Well, guess what? The other 3 are ecstatic because guess what? They got C's where typically they get D's and F's, right?
Right.
Sally's unhappy because now her A's a C. So now they have another project the next week. Same group of kids. You know what happens? Sally doesn't put forth 110% like she did before.
Yeah.
And the other kids certainly don't because they didn't care to start with. So the time this project's done, now they all get a D average.
Because now you're describing the consequences of socialism.
Right.
You're describing the destruction of the individual, the demoralization of the individual, and that nobody wants to. Well, you're not going to have your businessmen who have a dream of starting up a business and want to have a better family and life than their parents did. Mm-hmm. It kills all that.
Yes.
Exactly. But that works in great with the big O. He doesn't want us to be exceptional. Remember, we're supposed to, stall
we're not.
behind.
And what is it like to me? And I used to be a Star Trek fan, right? It's like the,
I would have never guessed
Borg.
that.
The Borg. Right?
I would have never guessed that.
It's the Borg, the collective mind of the Borg. They all work as one unit. Yep. Nobody is exceptional. Nobody is different. Everyone thinks the same. They work the same. It's all the same.
And they attack. It's an attack on exception. If you're exceptional, if you're exceptional and not of a certain category, then it's because of such and such. It's because of it gets down to even there's a question about on the SAT years ago, and it had the word parka in it. Mm-hmm. And they said that was, an unfair, that was a discriminating question because people in inner cities don't own parkas or something like that. That's the point we get to, though.
Yeah, that's the level of ridiculous that you get.
I mean, and then Sally, they're getting rid of these advanced placement classes, AP classes. So when Sally, her salvation, of not having to work with frick and frack is to go to those advanced placement classes.
Right.
But they've gotten rid of those too.
Right.
Yep. And with abortion, they'll get rid of all of the special education classes. So all they need is just one class.
Yep.
I'm not
what I found interesting today, and I had not heard of it, but I've been saying for months now, why don't states have some type of benefit for parents who want to either homeschool or put their child in a private school, excuse me, or something like that? Well, Nevada's done it, or they're doing it. I shouldn't say they've done it. They're doing it. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's called the SB. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Coughing. SB 302. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what an HSA is, a health savings account with your health insurance, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Nevada's done. It's called an ESA, an educational savings account.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the way this works and what I'm getting from it is it establishes a program by which a child who receives instruction from a certain entity rather than from a public school may receive a grant of money in an amount equal to a certain percentage of the statewide average base support per pupil. So that parent then goes on to be able to use that money that the state puts in their ESA to either go to a private school or do some type of online homeschooling or use it for tutoring or for books and materials. There's certain guidelines, but this is where Nevada is moving to. And this is where I personally am going to work to get Florida to move to.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's a great idea. And that's an honest government right there because
in Nevada, no less.
Oh yeah, because those parents are paying with their property taxes.
Exactly.
Portion, so they should, that's really, it's nice to hear stories like that.
And I think and my question when I was first thinking about this months ago was, my only issue was because I know back when we homeschooled our children, when it got time for our boys to be around high school age, they had done the Pop Warner football up until that point. So after our public school was out and we were done with our homeschooling, they would truck up to the high school and they would participate in the football program. So my question in my mind was, how would the counties or the states deal with a parent who wanted to still use portions of the school, not necessarily the teaching classrooms, but maybe the arts program or the cheerleading or some sports, type of sport. And I think this is a perfect example of it because they use a percentage. Only a percentage goes back to the parents, and then that still gives them some input financially into the school system. So if they want to be involved in those extracurricular activities, they can.
Wouldn't it just be easier if they were to say, you don't have to pay this much of the taxes that go to public school?
I think that it would, but I think just like with HSA, if I have, let's say, $5,000 in my HSA and my, healthcare deductible is $7,500 or whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I included that, but let's say I have $5,000 in my HSA. When I go to the accountant at the end of the year, the accountant needs receipts for the $5,000 that I used from that. Because if I'm going to claim that as a tax credit or a deduction, then I have to have proof that I used it in the right way. And I think it is a good idea for them to do the ESA, because we all know there's parents out there that would probably misuse that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there does have to be some type of paper trail just to keep honest people honest.
Well, I mean, it's where even that Nevada measure that they've, enacted, it still doesn't cure the real illness, which is the Department of Education.
Right.
We need.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I'm just saying, we need. This is the problem, that when you let someone in the door, you let them get a foot in, their body's soon to follow, and then they're rifling through your cupboards and making a meal for themselves. That's the Department of Education. It started out as a survey. That's all they were, to gather statistics throughout the nation and compare them to make sure that, there was a standard learning. Right. And now look at it today. Well, I think the news article that I was listening to on the way home about this Nevada savings account, educational savings account, he made a good point, and he said that if this goes through as it is expected to do in Nevada, and if other states were to follow through, let's say there's 1,000 students in a school in one district at the beginning of the year, and within 2 or 3 months they lose 500. They've just lost a lot of funding. And so the school has to then make a decision. They either close that school and the 500 get shipped to other schools, or they rework their curriculum or whatever it is that the parents are opposed to, so that the parents approve and put them back in school. And that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
To get rid of Common Core and to listen to who? We the people.
Yep.
Exactly.
The thing that amazes me is that, you have parents sending you these pictures of the homework, and what's amazing is that people don't get it, that this Department of Education, that's your child. I mean, that's a very integral part of, I don't have children myself, but I know that education is so important, and it's a huge part of their life and their future life and your life. And to make sure your kid is learning the right thing, but yet they're completely stonewalled by these. I mean, they're shut out. They can't even audit a class. I mean, parents should be allowed to go in if there's a problem. Right.
Well, technically, everybody is allowed to go in. If you're a taxpayer, you should have access to all of the curriculum at school, because you're paying for it regardless of whether or not you have kids there. Right. But Common Core doesn't just stop there, right?
No, it doesn't. Right. One of the other huge issues with Common Core that many parents have come up against is and I'm going to say the word indoctrination because there's no other word to use for it, of students with using Islamic teachings. And we've learned this week that it's starting as early as 6th grade in social studies. And it's not a simple matter of discussing geography or discussing economics of a region or
even history.
Yeah, it's gone way farther than that. When you have children write the 5 pillars of Islam, when you have children write the phrase, there is one but only one God and his name is Allah, when you have children who are getting taken on field trips to mosques, and the girls are told that you have to cover from your neck to your wrist and from your neck down to your ankles, and the boys are to dress a certain way. And when you go so far across that line, and not only that, but you are taking 1 month, 4 to 5 weeks just to study Islam. And I've heard from parents who I've asked, do they study Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism? I mean, well, they do for 1 day, 2 pages.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
that's
none of
their
them
out.
get taken to church and take communion?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Nobody has to wear a yarmulke?
No. Nobody has to do. And here's what I found so appalling today. And I did get sent a great link from someone here in my county. And I have 183 pages of stuff to read through, but I also have a lot of other sites that they gave me the links to. One of them talks about religion being taught in schools and what Florida's standards are for that. What I found several truly amazing things, shocking things, I guess. One of them being that they have to be fair to all religions, right?
Okay.
Which, we all agree to some extent.
Yep.
That's true. But the Muslim child who follows Islam, if they request it, the school has to oblige them and give them a quiet, separate room so that they can go and pray during the hours that they're in school when they need to go pray.
And if they don't, do they get to
And if
build
they
a clock?
don't, they can come back and probably sue them for failing to acknowledge their religious freedom. But what I found interesting with this is that we as Christians, we don't get that same luxury from our public school systems. It said right under that the teachers are not allowed to pray in open or with students.
Well, Joe Kennedy is your most recent example, the
Exactly.
football coach. He's actually going to be a guest for us on the Vox Populi
I know.
podcast.
Oh,
here
did you
in the
get him?
future. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
He's my
I can't
Facebook
wait.
friend.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's a double standard as to, but the other thing that I was going to say is that in that one section that I was reading, it said, can the schools teach about religion? And the answer was, yes, we can teach to a certain point about certain religions. We can't, go over the line. Well, we all know they've gone over the line. But they said which religions and how will it be determined how long you will study on each religion? The answer is shocking. It will be determined by how predominant the religion is in the country.
In our country.
In our country.
Okay.
So you're telling me that you're spending 1 or 2 days on Christianity, 1 or 2 pages long, but we're spending a month long, 5 weeks, on a 17-page syllabus for Islam. Now, I wasn't aware that Islam.
For an 8 million people. I think it's what 8 million is.
Well, I didn't realize that Islam was the predominant religion in America.
No, it's not.
Right.
Maybe they're just counting the president as 50%.
I'm not quite sure, but I mean, there's,
Well, let me ask you this, Diane. Let's go through. This is going to be fun. Let's do like 15 seconds, and I'm going to ask you because I don't actually have a problem with Islam being taught. I think they should spend half a year teaching kids Islam.
Well,
but there's certain things they need
I know
to be teaching them.
Yes.
So let's go through this. Are they, and just yes or no, real quick, are they teaching that Muhammad had 11 wives?
No.
9-year-old wife?
No.
Did they teach that he massacred Jewish villages for nothing but a dream?
No.
Did they teach that he commanded the killing of Jews and Christians?
No.
Did they teach that Muslims actually believe that Allah cursed Jews into apes and pigs?
No.
did they teach that Muhammad had a lot of sex slaves?
Nope.
What are they teaching?
What are they teaching him? They're teaching that we are taking this wonderful, magical journey over to Mecca, and there will be this. I looked out into the field and I saw this war taking place, and I wasn't sure what was happening. And then look at the beautiful architecture, and we have to pray 5 times a day, and
let me just interrupt here once. I've actually been to Mecca several times, and there's no beautiful architecture. There's sand, and that's about it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of sand.
But the lessons go around learning what the 5 pillars of Islam are. The lessons go around talking about Muhammad in the early days and how he was a merchant, and then a vision came to him and he felt God calling him, and then he didn't have a following at that point, but then he went into what is the town's name, Farah? He went in at
Medina.
Medina. He went into Medina and he started preaching, and he started to have these followers, and that's where it goes into. They do not discuss anything about him being a pedophile. They do not discuss that he called for the deaths of so many Christians and Jews. They do not go into the fact that he well, I won't say that, but they really leave out. What they're doing is they're embellishing. They're sugarcoating it. They are making it so that, let's be honest, they're making it so that a young, impressionable mind will look at this information and go, oh, wait a minute now. My mom and dad, they talk about these Muslim people and Islam, and, well, that's not what they say. My mom and dad have it all wrong. These people sound wonderful.
Well, and to top that, you have, I don't know if you guys caught this, Michelle Obama gave a commencement speech at a high school.
Not again.
And she, did you hear that line in there where it was, if you hear somebody, your family members, we're counting on you to be our little spies, basically, and correct them. And that goes back into just what you're saying. That's kind of what they want. They want that conflict.
Right. I wonder if CNN has a hand in writing this curriculum, because you know what? Some of the news that they, I have to say, quote unquote news that they put up today would be a lot easier to believe if someone has a background in that kind of quote unquote education. Everybody's heard about the University of California shooting by somebody, stabbing. I'm sorry.
Right.
Faisal Muhammad. Now, this is following the knife intifada in Israel. So he used a knife to stab people, and then he's also gone on a rampage, and he's a Muslim. But CNN says it has nothing to do with that. He got upset because he got kicked out of a study group. I went to high school, and when I got kicked out of a study group, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm
stabbing people. And it said that he had in the note, the alleged note.
Right.
We have to put quotations on everything.
I know,
right?
That's the sad thing. And they're so sly. They're so careful with their wording and how they present it and the way in which they present it, down to the imagery that they show on the television. And it's just glazes over. Now you got generations of millennials who can't even interpret and can't even see through the line. It's so blatantly there. It's just a line of crap. This guy was, if he was a white guy, and he happened to have a Facebook picture taken 7 years ago with him next to somebody with a Confederate flag, he'd been in the proximity,
Right.
Yep.
It would have been crazy. And we know these things. And I guess it's like, it gets frustrating when you get to the point where you see the other side. And having been a liberal myself, shamefully, I will admit that, I realize that until you shut down, like they will not look at anything else, even if the proof's presented.
Right.
Well, I think the only logical thing that we can conclude, I'm actually looking at the article right now. It's on CNN. It says manifesto found on UC Merced, I don't want to say it wrong, stabbing suspect. But the only thing that I can conclude as an American citizen from this is, one, we need to have a knife confiscation because apparently knives are killing people now.
Right.
And
Box cutters too.
we really need to stop having Islamophobia, because obviously if people didn't kick him out of the study for being, I'm sure, racists towards a Muslim, then he wouldn't have been this angry. So it's all our fault.
Well, of course.
He's the victim now. It's going to watch them. They'll paint it as it's going to come out. They've run the, he was on antidepressants thing, and they're done with that. So they need something else. So now they're going to run with, they're going to interview, and then one word. All the kids got to do is say one word and go, yeah, we joked with him. I mean, he was a good friend, and one joke, and it was going to be he was oppressed. And that's all they have to do. Technically, they didn't violate any, ethics or codes in journalism, but they're hunting for, and if you want to find something, you can find it.
Absolutely.
You just got to have you can make a sweater out of a piece of thread, and that's what they do all day.
Well, they don't care. Have you seen that video that MSNBC, I believe, had? And the reporter is standing right there, and he's watching this one Palestinian guy attack with knives, and he literally says, there's nothing in his hands. And the other guy has to say, yes, there is.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there's knives in his hands.
Nice.
They don't care.
I actually did see that.
When I listen to, and I've had, as always, you post something, whether it be a video or a news article or whatever, an opinion, and you get the liberals who come back at you. And with this teaching Common Core, we have seen many of the comments from the liberal school teachers bashing us for being racists and bigots and small-minded conservative trailer trash people that we are. But what I find, and I'm not going to say funny, ironic, is that it's not about, if it were about teaching, number one, if it were about teaching all of Islam or all of the facts, that would be one thing.
Yep. But
at the point that you're only showing the good in something that is 90% to 100% bad, my mind goes back to 9/11 and to other incidents of the beheadings, the millions of people, the Assyrians that are getting beheaded simply for being Christian.
Yep.
Or not willing to say, I will follow Allah. To me, when a school teacher, and shame on you school teachers for doing this, at the point that you're willing to side with an ideology that is calling for the death of Americans, Christians, and Jews who have not done anything to provoke them other than to deny following Allah, all of the deaths mean nothing. Exactly. All of the deaths of those innocent people mean absolutely nothing. And shame on us as a country, shame on us as a world for continuing to allow that to happen. We really don't learn anything. There's so many of us that don't learn anything. We just keep throwing out the insults. Oh, it's just, you people, golly, you'll make a big deal out of anything, won't you? We're just teaching, don't you? Oh, this is how small-minded you are. You won't even let your child learn anything.
Well, the problem is, also, if you look at some parts of England right now, they're talking about taking out the Holocaust from the books because it offends Muslim. I would like somebody, anyone, to let me know, since when do we give a rat's tail about what offends who? Now, I thought, as Americans, this is what we do. We offend people.
I find that ironic because if you go back in history, Hitler actually met with Muslims.
Yuppity-doo, that's right.
Where did the swastika come from?
Well, the swastika, I think, is a symbol from, is it Hinduism? And it actually means something completely different.
Yes.
I thought he had gotten part of it or something from Islam. There was something...
Well, you know how Muslims do it. They take whatever they want and claim it as their own.
But the point is, Hitler actually met with them.
Yes, he did.
He learned,
and they supported him.
And he worked with them.
Yep.
So I find it ironic that someone is saying that Muslims are offended by Hitler.
Well, they're offended by crosses at a Catholic university. And they're suing the university to take down the crosses at a Catholic university. I think I'm giving myself a headache saying that. That is ridiculous. So how long is it going to be before they go into our schools and want to take out the Holocaust? What if they want to take out the Boston Tea Party?
They're already doing it.
Yeah, Dianne, was that you that posted? I want to get that lady's information because I would love to have her on. I think you posted it, Dianne. She used to be a teacher, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. That was.
Look at it, but they are changing history
in
a huge way. And what I wanted to do actually was I wanted to go to a used bookstore and I wanted to get, say, an old history book from, it could be as early as probably the 80s and compare it to what Common Core has in it today on some of the subjects and see how very badly they have misconstrued. And
I could pretty much sum it up for you because it's going to be a really easy history. It's going to be we killed a bunch of Indians, slave trade. The country is a great country, but it's illegitimate. It has so many problems, and we've caused so many problems in everywhere we go, and we're racist and white. Yeah. We got to be aware of our privilege, and. Right. I mean, the history is going to be easy. Along came FDR, and thankfully he saved us with all of his social programs. And then Lyndon Johnson, thank God. And then the great one, the great O. He came and he gave us health care.
Well, you two saw the post I shared, and many other people have shared from Alan West today on the school 7th grade complete the sentence assignment.
No, I did not see that.
Oh, well, you are in for a surprise, my friend. Alan West shared it, and it's from a 7th grade class. And if my computer will respond here. Question number 10. There is quite a contrast between the blank administration that now runs the country and the, quote, do-nothing regime that preceded it.
Oh. Nice.
The do nothing. Well, I mean.
Well, this is what I was wondering, Dianne, with the whole, we're always going to be, and even I know it's true, and you could post all the pictures and whatnot. I think we don't care about where, they're going, well, you don't want your children to learn. They're gone. They're brain dead. They're waiting for the trap door to open and take them out somewhere. I don't know. But, the parents that, are not quite there yet, that don't have the information or kind of blow it off because they think, oh, well, it's not really proof. It's just one picture or whatever.
Right.
How can I'm trying to think of a way we can get maybe the textbooks themselves, like,
I am actually working on that. I have heard, for everybody out there that wants to get a copy, I went to our local, not Hobby Lobby, Joann's Fabrics today, and I heard someone say that Joann's has them. I did not see them. I'm thinking possibly it might be Hobby Lobby. Either one of those. You may call them and ask before you go down there. But supposedly one of them carries the Common Core workbooks.
Okay.
So that would be a place for a parent who is curious to start. And I would pick, excuse me, I would pick sixth grade and above. I haven't heard very much going on in the elementary schools. A few couple of things, very minor, but definitely by the seventh grade. I have heard also that the sixth is starting it now, but if they want to get information and familiarize themselves with Common Core, on Facebook, I know that both of you know that Rachel Cohen's group, Choose to Refuse Common Core. Absolutely a great wealth of information. A lot of wonderful people in there sharing facts and keeping everybody up to date on what's going on. But there's also, if you go into whatever state you're in, whatever school district you're in, if you do a search on Facebook of, let's say, Common Core in, Lake County, Florida, you're going to come across, and even do that on Google as well, you're going to come across groups that have formed themselves in your area to keep parents educated on what's going on. So join those groups because they are also a wealth of information. And not only that, but these groups, I joined one today in my area, and the name of it is, I believe, Lake County Healthy Schools. And basically what it is a group of people in the local area that keep everybody abreast. There's a school board meeting tonight and this is what they're talking about, or next week this school board member is going to be meeting here and he's going to be talking about this. And it's just a great networking place to be, and so that you can meet people in your local area who have the same concerns as you.
And that's why I think what you're doing, and I think that this is the way we have to do it, is we have to go to the local level. Absolutely. You can't go to DC and just protest for a day.
It's not
and then
work.
Go home and go, oh, I feel good.
No, it's not going to work. You have to start local, and I would advise everyone, if you've not been to your go online. I'm sure every county in America has their local school board online. Go online, get the emails to the school board members, download the calendar that shows when they meet, and not only that, go back through some of the meeting notes from prior meetings and see what was discussed. How did they vote on it? What was the turnout? Et cetera, et cetera. Review those items and then get with local teachers who are in that age range of 7th to 12th grade. And in the social studies program and in the math program, primarily those are the two areas that are causing quite the problem. But get with them and say, look, my name is, Dianne Savage. I just wanted to touch base with you. And, I either don't have children in your school district or I do have some coming up or whatever the case is. And just say, I'm really looking to connect with some teachers. I have some concerns. And when you have a few minutes, if you could just give me a call, or maybe I could come in and meet with you and just go over some things and just let them know that you are concerned. And you're going to be probably surprised to find, I so wish that teachers would really truly understand that if we're hearing now more than we used to, how disgruntled teachers are.
I tagged you in that post yesterday, Dianne.
Yes.
Did you see that? That poor lady was crying.
Yes. And I watched the whole thing, and it was, they're getting attacked from within. Mm-hmm. And so we have to and that's why I did the last two videos I've done in the last couple of days, because I'm begging, and I don't beg very often, but I am really, truly, honestly, sincerely, from my heart, begging teachers to come out and stand up. And I'm guaranteeing you, I don't care what school district you're in, you're going to have so many parents support you. You have no idea.
You know who else knows a lot about Common Core, Dianne, is the homeschooling network.
Yes.
Your homeschooling network people,
is that
especially
what they're called?
in the churches. Yes. That's what I'm calling them. The homeschoolers.
That's what they're called. And we used to be a part of one when we homeschooled our kids.
I didn't know you homeschooled your kids.
Oh, yes. All three.
Oh, awesome. All through from beginning till end?
Well, the boys from, let's see, how did it go? They each are within 2 years. So our boys are 18 months apart. Jay is 2 years from the middle. So when the boys went to elementary school to start, and after about half a year, I took them out. My first son actually went to a private academy, a Christian academy, and I am not going to name it. I'm sure people, everybody has to find their niche. Some kids learn differently than others.
Yeah.
And so after about a year, we pulled him out. And then that's when our second son started. And I just looked at my husband and I said, I'm really not feeling this whole public school thing. And so I thought he would think I was totally nuts. And I said, I really want to homeschool them. And I had never talked to a homeschooling parent in my life. I knew nothing about it. And he said, no, I think that's a great idea. So I went online. I found, Christian curriculum. I set up half of my living room with desks and bookshelves and maps and, the whole works. I went crazy. But we homeschooled them for about 3 years. And then we said, let's try public school. Mm-hmm. So they went, and my son, actually, they were all three in middle school at the time. And I went after the first day and I picked them up, and each one of them got in the vehicle and they looked like they'd just been put through the ringer. And I said, guys, how is it? And each of them said, Mother, I'm not going back. You can't make me go back to that. And I waited till I got home and I asked each one individually, why? I didn't want them feeding off each other's answers, so I kind of privately did it. What is your reason and what did you experience? And each of them had their own different take on it. And I said, I can't send them back to that. I mean, they have legitimate reasons. It wasn't just that, hey, I like being home and, Mom, I mean, we get up at 10 o'clock in the morning and we watch soap operas and eat bonbons all day, right? Which certainly wasn't the case.
I can't imagine it was.
Yeah, I mean, so the boys were homeschooled the whole way through. And Jessica, once she reached 10th grade, she went to high school. She was, and still is, a very grounded individual, but she had been taking tennis lessons, and so she wanted to go play on the team. And we knew parents and teachers in that school district that we were in at that time, and we felt very comfortable with her being very grounded in who she was and knowing what to look for and what not to look for in things. And so we let her go, and she did get a scholarship to college with the tennis, so that was beneficial. But I think it all depends. Here's a funny story, real quick. I know I'm really going on, but real funny story. Some family members weren't too sure about this. They'd never homeschooled their kids, and even though there's a lot of teachers in our extended families, they thought, I think for a while, that we were going to some church sacrificing chickens on the altar. I'm not sure. So after the first year, each year you have to have a certified teacher come in and evaluate your work for the year, see that the child is on grade level, what grades were they making, et cetera, et cetera. How many days did you school? How many hours a day? Blah, blah, blah. So we had a family member who's a certified teacher come, and she has a daughter that's a year older than our daughter. And so she came in, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I kind of think that she thought, this is the opportunity. I'm going to get to really see how she fails, right? And so after about an hour of looking through the children's portfolios and looking at their work, she looked up at me and she said, oh my God, Dianne. She said, this is outstanding. She said, Jessica is doing work that my daughter's doing in a grade above her. And she was just truly amazed. And that to me was, the ringer of the deal, was that I had a certified teacher telling me that I was doing good.
Oh, well, it's well known wherever I've gone. Homeschooled kids are a lot brighter and are a lot higher educated than public school kids. But the the homeschool network is amazing. I mean, these people are usually so nice. They're so willing to help you. And kids are getting pulled out of school at record numbers right now in the United States. But this is
what I worry. They're going to have to answer that. Big government's going to have to answer to that.
Well, what they want to do, and Dianne, you'll probably know this better than I do, but I went to a Common Core meeting. It was a couple of years ago because I moved and was out of the area for a while. But they were talking about even homeschoolers would have to pass a Common Core test before they get their high school diploma.
Yep. And that's
the catch.
They are using Common Core as a teaching standard.
So that way you can't go anywhere else.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's a whole other issue.
Right. And because Common Core is all about the process, not the result, it doesn't matter how smart your child is.
Right.
You're going to have to teach them the stupid way.
And then how are we going to compete when it comes to engineering, to the sciences, with other nations?
Well, it's not just that, Michael. I mean, they're killing these kids. They're saying that if the child cannot pass this Common Core test, not only can they not get their high school diploma, but they want it to be a job requirement.
Wow.
I hadn't heard the job requirement part before, but I had heard about the high school diploma part. And I'd also heard somewhere that some of the state or some of the colleges use the Common Core as an entrance kind of thing. So I don't know. And that may be the community college level is maybe what I'm thinking.
There's more but it's interesting. It's failing like Florida. Are they going to pull it out, or is this the second attempt?
They've got, I believe this is their second appeal. They're appealing it still. I don't know. I think that you only get 2 appeals. I don't think there's a third. I think if you lose the second, it's a done deal.
Well, if Jeb's still in the race, I imagine from a political standpoint, he's not going to let it go through because that would he signed on to it.
Right. Oh, Jeb's going to hang on to Common Core like a bulldog.
He don't care because that's political collateral. If he loses that, then that is a failure on his part. He's already under fire for
the sad thing is, beyond his political failure, I truly, honestly, after listening to Jeb Bush talk about Common Core, I really believe he believes what he's saying.
Well, I mean, it's Jeb Bush. Let's not put our expectations out there.
Well, I think he might have. I don't think it was a malicious thing. I think part of it could have been big money. Bill Gates brought a ton of money for Common Core, and he's supported by big money. Let's be honest.
Right.
All those rhinos are,
right.
And that's exactly what he is. So if he doesn't go along with them, then they're not going to support him. So if they say to do this and they tell him it's good, he's going to say, well, it's good. I don't think he was. It was a gun to his head. They were just like, hey, Jeb, this is a really great idea we have, and it's going to be awesome. You can get out ahead of it. The whole nation's going to be learning this. It's going to save education in America. I just the little bit that I've gotten into with Common Core, I really, honestly, looking at the governors that were involved, I just don't know how did they look at this and think this was, especially if you're a conservative governor.
Yeah.
How did you ever look at this and think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so great?
Well, here's my thing. Honestly, I have had it with making excuses for these so-called people in office. I don't care if you had good intentions. I don't care if you had bad intentions. At the end of the day, you screwed up.
Right.
Yeah,
and
you got to pay
get out of
for
office.
it.
Right.
Get out.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your intentions are.
When is the vote? When does the appeal take place for the Florida one?
I don't know the answer to that, but I am going to be in communication with the new group that I joined this evening or in the morning, depending on how much time I have after some things I get done. But that is one of my questions to them, because I know they're following all of that very closely. And I think one of the most important things people need to understand is it's not just about going to the ballot box when it's time.
Mm-hmm.
If you've really got to look into the situation of who's up for reelection on your school board. Look at their record. Look what they've stood for in the past. Do they need to be reelected? If they don't, what other candidates are running? And go directly. When there's meetings, when they have these town hall meetings, go to them and ask pointed questions. Be specific. Don't dance around the bush with them.
But what's important, though, what you were talking about earlier, when the way you described it, when you say, if you're a concerned parent, you call and then you ask some questions and to say you're concerned, or that is the key, because the way we lose these fights is they are smart and they've planned this out. And they want you to go in and rattle your saber, and then they're going to make you look like, just the hick from, Trailer Trash Hick.
Right.
And that's the key thing. And that's what I just see it. And I'm just like, we had an opportunity. And that's key, is you have to be smart too. And you have to check your emotions.
Yes. And that is a very good point. It is getting mentally prepared.
You're going to war. You're going to war.
We are at war.
You have to absolutely know your enemy, but know yourself also. And when you go to these, and when I called one of the schools that I called today about this, I could tell just by the questions that I asked that no one had called the school and asked these questions, because she was stammering and stuttering all over herself.
See, there's power in numbers.
You got her. Oh God, I would have loved to have been a fan.
And I said, first of all, I introduced myself. I was very polite. I was very professional. And I said, I do not have a child in this school. I simply would like to get a copy of your 7th grade social studies curriculum. And I gave her the number to the standard that's being used. And I asked for the social studies coordinator, and she came back and she said, oh my, I know I know who that is, but oh gosh, hold on, I'm going to have to ask. And she literally had to put the phone on hold and go find someone that knew the person's name. So obviously people are not calling asking for this person quite often, right?
It's not her fault. It's the fact that nobody's calling. But you know what? We'll put the date for that with the podcast. So once we publish the podcast, Dan, if you could get back to me, I will make sure to put the date so everybody can, if it's actually in their area, you can go in. If not, you can check on the results.
Yes.
But other than that, you know what? We've got to stop having these 3-way things, because that's all the time we have for today, folks.
Yeah. Thank you, Dianne, for coming on, and hopefully this information gets out to people, parents specifically, and we're going to be bringing you more about Common Core, and more as we find out more information. We're going to, from our mouths to your ears. So this is Vox Populi News. Michael Higgins and Farrah Prudence signing out.
Have a good day.
Awesome.